Mom, Dad, I'm adopted. My parents ceased their activities. My mom downed in a pearl necklace and earrings to match, stood upright. Upon both hands she wore oven mitts and a matching apron. Her teal sundress really did bring out the blue in her eyes. She closed the oven and removed the mitts, revealing perfectly manicured nails. My father sat his pipe on the end of the table and closed his book. His hair, just a touch of gray, was incalculably as ever. He wore a plaid shirt and a soft tan cardigan. He removed his reading glasses and looked at me in the face. Almost in unison they asked, "Why, dear? What makes you think that, son?" Before them I stood, pressed khaki pants, tucked in button-down shirt, and a matching belt and shoes. I felt both at one with and detached from the people before me. No. I tried to sound confident, but at the time, my confidence was lost in pursuits. "Don't be ridiculous," my father stood in the light of our perfectly lit kitchen. He placed his hands on my shoulders and looked at me in the eyes. "You're a boy, and we love you." I studied the lines on his face, pleading for it to be a lie, but there was none. "Sit, dear," my mother injected, opening the stove. "Dinner is nearly ready." I sat at our polished wooden table and placed my napkin on my lap, an old habit from etiquette school. I felt my eyes moisten. "Are you sure?" I was about to ask, staring at the blank place at the table where my food would soon be. My mother prepared plates before my father and I. He had a brief grace at the table and began eating the roasted potatoes my mother had so delicately prepared. "Positive," he said, savoring the bite as he wiped his lips. My mother sat last with her plate at the other side of the table, to me and to my left, and took my hand. "You're a baby," she said, looking me in the eye and assuring me I was her offspring. "Now, let's talk about something else. You haven't said hello to our guest." My eyes and face went wet and red as I stared across the table. The woman before me was tied up in a chair. Ropes ran from her throat and feet, keeping her from any free movement. Across her mouth was tightly wound duct tape, and her head was slumped forward. The only thing not tied down was her right arm. It was not the kindness extended, but rather unneeded. Her right arm had been severed before the shoulder. Blood was still actively pouring from the poor bandaging and soaking her side deep red. Her eyes were rolled back into her head in a loss of conscience from the extreme pain she had just endured. My parents shared a laugh over being seasoned so well. I took all this in and cried out in a whisper, "Please, tell me I'm adopted."